Hi everyone, this is Shania Young. In this video, I am running a one-way ANOVA and SPSS. I am checking if the enrollment is different across regions 1, 2, and 5. So the first thing I will do, I will filter out. I will filter the data so only regions 1, 2, and 5 are included. I did this to make sure that SPSS does not use all regions in the database. So how I will do that, I will click on data and then I will click on select cases and I'll click on the if button. I'll say regions, I'll bring it over. I'll say equal 1 or I say regions equal 2 or and do this process again and I'll say equal 5. I'll say continue. And then right here it says filter out unselected cases. So that's what we're trying to do. And then I'll say okay. Uh-oh. I'll say okay. And then once I do that, then we're gonna come here and then you see right here 3 and 4 is slash, it's a slash through it, meaning that it's filtered out. They're like we're not using those. So that's a plus. So then after I do that, now next before running the ANOVA, I'll check the normality. And the normality means that the data should look mostly normal in each region. And then I will check this using a Q to Q point from the explore option. So where that comes from is I go to analyze, I go to descriptive statistics, and I come right here to explore. And then right here for my dependent list, I will put enroll. And then for the factor list, I will put region. And then I will click on plots. And then I'll click on normality plots with text. I will click on that. And then once I do that, I will say continue. And then I will say, okay. All right, so right here, once we have our plots, so then we'll come to the Q to Q plots. So in these plots, we were looking at the dots. So in these dots, the dots does not perfectly follow the line, which means that our normality is not perfect. However, the data is close enough to normal, so they give us hope that we can continue. But if we're looking right here at region 5, it kind of goes in that line to say. So once I do that, I'll moving on. So now I will run the ANOVA test. I go to analyze, compare means and proportions, and I click on the one way ANOVA. And then I'll put enroll in my dependent list and I'll put regions in my factor list. And then for options, I'll make sure I click on descriptions and then click on, excuse me, then I'll click on the homogeneous versing test. I will click on that and then I'll say continue and then I'll say okay. So after that, we have ran our test. So now I will also check right here in this box. I'll check this box, the homogeneous vertices, and then we use the limb test. And the limb test was significant, which means that the verses were not equal. Um, Even though this assumption is violated, um, that's what basically this tells us right here that looking at this, our assumption was violated, but we continue to run the ANOVA test as that was instructed. So in my ANOVA test, the results, if we're looking at F, So if we're looking at our ANOVA test, if I'm looking at F, the value of 2.957 and p-value of 0.055, because the p-value is greater than 0.05, the result is not statistically significant. And this means that the enrollment is not significantly different across regions 1, 2, and 5. And then after that, I also check the effect size using right here. I check the effect size using the ETA square. And the ETA square is 0.036, which is a small effect. And that just means that the region explains only a small amount of difference in enrollment. So, in summary, the first thing I did was filter the data, then check the normality, and then I ran the one-way ANOVA test as given, and then the results was not statistically significant, and that was because the effect size was small. And thank you so much. Mm, right.